Nice work. As you're ready, reach forward like a puppy that wants to play. Come up through tabletop. Find your footprints, tuck your toes, lift your hips, find downward facing dog. Walk your hands and feet to meet in forward fold. Pause here, root to rise, inhale to roll up. Making any adjustments needed, noticing what upright feels like in your mountain pose. As you're ready, take a big step forward and maybe an even bigger step with a little nudge back on the other foot. Pausing in your lunge, spin on the ball of your back foot, bringing your heel to the floor. You might heel toe your front foot as though to intersect if it had a line drawing from your heel towards your back foot, it might intersect with the arch of that foot. Once your foundation feels firm, you can bend your front knee, sinking low until that knee comes over the ankle, maybe heel toeing the back foot further back if that feels more supportive. Once your foundation is firm, I invite you to lift your arms to a T. Your palms can point towards the floor, fingertips reaching forward and back away from each other in a strong warrior two. Breathe in here. Breathe out here. You might look over your front fingers. You might look over the back fingers, see if they're where you think you left them. Another inhale might flip the front hand, palm facing skyward, as you tip your teapot back, reaching the back hand towards the back thigh, and front hand shines towards 12 o'clock. Breathe in here. Breathe out. Find warrior two again. Maybe bring your front elbow to connect with your bent knee or thigh. Reach your back arm overhead for side angle. You could toggle it farther over your head, making a long line from your toes to extended fingers. You could also bend at the elbow and cradle the back of your head. Breathe in from toes to lifted fingertips or elbow. Extending that waistline. Reach with your back arm to pull you up, finding warrior two again. Nice work. We're going to dance a little bit and move it to the other side. But first, I invite you to extend that front knee, maybe say ah. You could lift those arms to a T again, reach over the forward horizon, and then tip your teapot forward, bringing the back of your front hand to connect with the inseam of your front calf, and your back hand reaches high overhead. For triangle, press into both feet to lift, find warrior two once more. Beautiful. As you're ready, extend the front knee, pick up the front toes and pivot so all toes point towards the long edge of your mat now. As you're ready, do the same thing on the other side. Pick up your toes and send them towards the short edge of your mat on the back. You know where you're headed, so you can make adjustments and set up your warrior two on the other side, bending low into the front knee, but supporting it with the ankle directly beneath. As you're ready, bring your arms to a T. Inhale. Might look over this horizon. And look over that one. Warrior two looks at the battle ahead with strategy as though a fencer that can move quickly or between small spaces with anticipation of what's ahead. But they also draw on knowledge from the past, keep an eye on their six, as it were, some perspective from the warrior two. From here, you might flip your front palm, reverse your warrior, shining your hand up high, and resting the other on your thigh behind. Still sinking low into that front knee. Breathe in here from hip to lifted armpit. Exhale, find warrior two again. You might connect that right elbow with right knee or whichever side you're on. Find side angle on this side. Back hand reaches overhead, maybe toggling forward still, making a long line from toes to fingertips. You could make space between your ears and your lifted shoulders. Draw your belly towards your spine. Let your waist be long. Reach behind you like the rope to pull you as your warrior two. Maybe extend that front leg with a sigh of relief. Lean your shoulders and lifted arms over front toes. And then take your T-tot and find triangle on the other side. Back of your lower hand could connect with your inseam as your top hand reaches towards the sun. Imagine standing between two panes of glass here, pressing into both feet equally. Notice your breath. And as you're ready with strength, come up. Find warrior two one more time. And you can find your way out, maybe heel toeing or hopping your feet together in center. Nice. Let's continue our exploration of the warriors, shall we? If you'd like to practice warrior three, I'll invite you to find your strong mountain pose, standing on railroad tracks with equal weight in both feet. You might bring your weight to shift towards one side or the other until one foot peels up from the floor. Hands could connect in front of your sternum for additional balance and centering as you hinge at the hips and look down at your front foot. Maybe your lifted foot bends behind you. Return to mountain. That's one way to begin practicing warrior three. Another option could be to take a step back with the foot that will lift. Bend that front knee as you also hinge at the hips and bend to look down over your front foot. Feel your back foot and just lift it any amount towards the sky. You can bring your toes back down for support, like a kickstand, as many times as you need. Maybe you begin to hover a little bit. Maybe it's behind you, glutes, and also send your hands forward to counterbalance. It's okay if you wiggle or waver. It might feel different each time. See if you can return to mountain with control. Same thing, other side. You can choose how you'd like to move into your warrior three, but you might begin with your mountain pose, shifting your weight into standing foot. You could step back and connect your toes with the mat as you hinge and look over your front toes and standing leg. From here, with strength, light up the back of your back leg and just lift your heel towards the sky. Maybe set it back down. Maybe do that a few times. It could help to bend the front knee as though stepping into a small lunge. Maybe you add the hands for counterbalance. Notice your breath, maybe inhaling to lift, to fly. maybe wavering, maybe finding balance again. Something to play with. Nice. From here, let's make our way back to the mat. You might take your feet wide as though on extra wide railroad tracks. Bend at the knees, let your knees point the same direction as your toes as you send your hips down and back behind you. We'll do this nice and slow. If you have a block or a stack of books available, you might grab it and have it ready to sit on. As we lower our hips more and more, you could bring your your elbows to the insides of your knees. Your hands might connect in center or reach towards the floor. We're protecting the alignment of the knees over the toes as we squat lower and lower into what we call malasana. You can move your block and come to sit on it at any height. The block has a tall height, a medium height, and if you're feeling sassy, you could try the low height. Listen to your body. See if you can let your spine be long. Now could be a fun time to sprout your Boo mudras and connect your little roots with the mat, letting your open arms, the backs of your arms connect with the inseams of your knees. For Malasana pose. Take a breath in here. Take a breath out here. You could stay here if you'd like, or lower all the way to seated, which maybe you've already done, if not using a block, which I would totally understand. Notice how it feels to be supported on the mat. Maybe take an opportunity for a sip of water or tea. Notice the sounds of your breath. Notice the points of your body connecting with the mat. You might use your blanket or towel to make a pad for your knees, preparing to come into tabletop again. Another option could be to just make a little bump in your mat, kind of doubling it over and folding it over on itself. Just making a little extra cushion. Some options if a blanket or towel is not handy. Please practice self-care, take care of those knees. You could bring your knees under your hips. Your toes can be tucked or pointed, whatever feels right. Hands can be under shoulders or even a little wider. Also, if the wrists are a little tired from supporting one's weight, you can reduce the intensity of the angle in your wrist by bringing your hands to blocks. This will lift your chest farther away from the mat, of course, but this is still a supportive quadruped pose. So you do what works for you today. Once you're set up and you're supportive, cushy tabletop, bring your awareness to both footprint or handprints, footprints, whatever you want to call them. Maybe also your toes where they connect with the mat in whatever fashion, and your knees and shins. Inhale to reach. Use one hand and the opposite foot. Make a long line from fingers to toes or to heel. Your toes might be flexed, you can choose. And lower everything back to center. Same thing, other side. Inhale to lift, find bird dog, make a long line with opposite leg and arm. And find center, doing some core work on the back body. You can pair your breath, create a little warmth. Inhale to lift, exhale to lower. You could add a little core work before you set your handprint down, connecting knee and elbow in center, reaching one more time long. Same thing other side if you want to try that. Nice. All right. If you're ready, you can tuck your toes, lift your knees and hips, find downward facing dog. You could stay here and practice your belly breath, letting gravity add a little weight to your diaphragm for a little extra workout and strengthening. Another option would be to flip your dog. If you'd like to try this, I invite you to remove your blocks or any books under your hands so that you have good connection with the supportive mat underneath. Find your downward facing dog. Breathe in, breathe out. Shift your weight into one footprint to lift the other. Three-legged dog. Bend the knee of the lifted leg and begin to rotate your knee towards the sky. You might look under your armpit and see if you can find that bent foot hanging out. From here, you can bend your standing knee. Pivot on the ball of your standing foot as you bring your lifted foot to the floor, rotating on your hand as well, and bringing the other hand to lift, flipping your dog over, maybe getting a little rotation in the lifted shoulder, and go out the way you came in. So connect your handprint with the floor again as your foot lifts, find three-legged dog, and connect your lifted foot with the mat. I know it's kind of weird. Again, you might turn around if you're like me and up against a wall to switch sides. As you're ready, find downward facing dog. And this time lift the opposite footprint towards the sky, three-legged dog. Bend the knee. Rotate, bringing the knee towards the sky, opening the hip. You can look under your armpit and try to see that lifted foot hanging out. Once you locate it, you can peel your standing heel off the mat for rotation on the ball of that foot. As you lower your lifted foot next to it to connect with the mat, lifting the opposite hand, kind of trading off lifted foot for lifted hand. So flipping your dog for a different kind of three-legged dog, if that makes sense. You could rainbow your lifted arm for opening in the chest and shoulder, making organic circular motions, maybe wiggling the fingers. As you're ready, find your way back, trade your hand and foot off and spin around for three-legged dog. Lower your knees, maybe take child's pose. Take 3 nourishing breaths here. Letting your belly fill up your lap. Letting your rib cage expand against your inner knees.